So, stress is something that everyone has faced at some point in their lives in different forms and can be very detrimental to health. Therefore, in my essay, I looked into using science to help understand and cope with stress. First off, what is stress? Stress is basically a strained mental state due to an internal or external pressure. There's two parts of it that includes stressor, which is anything that causes stress, and stress response is the way that you act on the stress. There are two kinds of stress that include acute stress, which is short-term stress, and chronic stress, which is long-term stress, and chronic stress is where it can be very detrimental to your health. There are many areas in the body that are important for stress response that I talked about in my essay, but one main one I want to talk about now is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So here's a picture of the HPA axis, and as you can see, it basically shows a cycle of stress and how it goes through the body. So first off, it enters directly into the hypothalamus in the brain. The hypothalamus then releases certain hormones that travel down to the pituitary gland. These hormones then leave the pituitary gland and head down to the adrenal gland. From there, the adrenal gland releases its own specific hormones in specific areas depending on the type of stress. So now that you understand the basics of stress and how it goes through the body, I think it's important to note the effects that it has on the body. So long-term stress can actually disrupt the HPA axis, which leads to abnormal hormone levels, and this can result in things like depression and other disorders. So with all this talk on stress and its effects on the body, I think that it's important to find solutions to help cope with it. I talked about certain medications like antidepressants that can help cope with it, but these medications have many side effects for people. I think that the best medication for some people might not be a pill, but actually finding ways that they can help cope with the stress themselves. So one possible solution to help cope with stress is actually sensing control of the situation. So the example that I brought up in my paper was skydiving. The first time you go skydiving, you're probably super stressed and nervous before, until you actually jump. Once you jump and don't die, you realize that you might want to try it again. Each consecutive time that you try it, you get less and less stressed before. This is shown in the graph where epinephrine levels, or adrenaline levels that come from the adrenal gland, are decreased after each time that you jump. This decrease is called habituation, where you learn that a stimulus that was originally perceived as a stressor is not a stressor. Therefore, getting to know your stressor and sensing control over its response is one way to manage stress. One other solution to help cope with stress is exercising. Exercising can release all the excess hormones that are produced from stress response. So I hope that you learn a little bit more about stress and the science behind it, and how the best medication for some people might not be a physical pill, but by doing things like changing their lifestyle habits or finding specific outlets like hobbies or sensing control over their stressful situation. Thank you.